The following program contains discussions of health conditions that may be distressing to some listeners. Views expressed are those of the featured individuals and do not represent of the host. This program is not intended to defame or disparage any individual, entity, caste, community, race, religion, institution, or person. Listener discretion is advised. Please note that this program does not provide professional medical advice. Consult a healthcare professional for personalized guidance. You get trolls, you get sort of good comments. How do you handle trolls and how do you handle negative comments on social media?
I think over the last 20 years, we reached a place in society where we stopped agreeing to disagree with people.
How is a life coach different from a psychologist?
The life coach is someone who helps you navigate through life, being aligned with your purpose and your objectives and your goals in life.
I want you to tell me what exactly is clinical depression.
It is a feeling of being completely isolated despite having lots of people in your life.
You've spoken about sitting, next to a windowsill. Where were you in Dubai or something?
I was in South Africa. I was doing the 2009 IPL. And the thought that I had was I could end all this pain by just jumping.
Very strange. And I think this has to do with men getting help.
Yeah.
They cannot talk to other men, but they can talk to a woman.
In a man's world, nobody does any favors to us. We have to make it on our own. There is no empathy, there is no help, there is nothing. You make it on your own.
If somebody else is also going through mental health issues and is suffering that nervous breakdown or whatever, what would be your advice to them?
To addressing anything related to mental health is to have...
How you're getting more men to be open about talking on mental health?
The men's mental health endeavor is a tough one, but it's one that I'm committed to.
Hi, and welcome to another episode of the Lifesavers Show. Today, I want to introduce my guest, Robin Uthappa, who's in fact in Dubai, and say that he's an ace cricketer. He's a World Cup winner for India, a two-time IPL winner, and a cricket analyst. However, when you see this episode and you see how via this podcast, he shared with me his deepest vulnerabilities and that behind the game that he plays, all that machismo surrounding the game that he plays, he is also human just like us. I want you to see very closely how he's become self-aware. He spoke with me extensively on his fragile mental health and most importantly, his healing journey. Incidentally, Robin is also now a certified life coach and a motivational speaker. Let's listen in.
Uthappa's gone for it now. Here's Uthappa. He hits 3-0 India. Uthappa goes for it. Here goes Uthappa. It's into the crowd. Uthappa it is back.
Hi, Robin. Welcome to the Lifesaver Show. I'm so honored to have you here speaking to me today.
Thank you, Neha. It's like, I'm so happy that I'm speaking to you after such a long time. I'm so glad you reached out and after years, actually.
Yes.
We've actually known each other for so long.
I have, I reached out because I have been glancing at your Insta feed and I am so impressed. I want to tell you that with the way you communicate and not just communicate about your thoughts and your feelings as a couple, like you and your wife, Sheetal, the way you guys are talking about relationships and the way you are talking about each other and what works and what doesn't work. So it's very heartwarming to see a couple doing that. I am seeing that you guys actually want to improve your relationship. How many of us actually want to do that?
Well, yeah, as in it's, otherwise the grass becomes greener on the other side, no?
Yeah.
So I'm someone who believes that the grass is greener where you water it, nurture it, give it sunlight, mow it, feed it the seeds. It involves work. So we both are very aware of that. And so we kind of try and navigate through life through, constantly improving ourselves for our relationship. Constantly communicating, having difficult conversations, voicing what we need from time to time. Because it's human nature for things to, when you exist in a certain space, it's human nature for things to kind of dwindle off a little bit and kind of taper off a little bit. And then you bring that conversation up. And then I think one of the things is that we don't have an ego about it. We kind of call each other out on our on our shortcomings, so to speak.
Yeah.
And in doing so, we're constantly trying to evolve our relationship.
I
We
know.
believe that you can't escape evolution. It's just a part.
I also believe, and I'm just going to, before I get into my actual chat, is that when we are parents ourselves, we sort of try to undo whatever with the sort of parenting that we have had in a way with our kids, and the spouse that we have seen sort of with the way our parents have behaved with each other. We want to not repeat the same thing. Does that happen with you as
Yeah.
well?
Yeah, so I've actually given it an understanding because I've actually thought about it quite a bit,
Okay.
and I feel like it's made sense to me, and it's something that I share with people when the conversation kind of comes up. And then it actually gives us a lot of meaning and understanding as to why we grew up with everything we grew up. And one thing I think
Yeah.
as parents today, I can say for sure is that no matter how hard you try,
Yeah.
no matter how much you put in, on some level you will always fall slightly short because evolution continues to happen. And when our kids are parents, they will try to undo or not make the mistakes that we made,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And that's just a part of life, right?
Yeah.
It's not our parents' fault that they did something. Our parents
Yeah.
always, I think, did the best they could with what they had. And that's something that I genuinely believe. I think they did the best they could with what they had, with the tools that they had, right? And the
Yeah.
exposure that they had. Because the mentality itself was survival. Nobody really thought of thriving. So it was always survival. Now it's always about at 77, 78 years ago, it was about, okay, increasing the population of the country and, surviving strong. And then get to a place of surviving strong to hopefully thriving. Now, if you think about how many people in that time, say in the late 1940s, how many people thought from that thriving mentality? Very few.
Yeah.
Maybe 1% of the country thought, or maybe
Yeah.
less than 1% of the country thought in that mentality. So when you look at it from that perspective, it makes sense that when, like our generation, right? Like we are the millennials, right? So us as millennials, we grew up in a generation where we're the perfect cusp of being from having the survival mentality and also having the thriving mentality. Any generation after us, whether it's the Gen X's, Gen Z's, Gen Alphas, all of them, right? They only know what thriving is, right? Their mentality of existence itself is from a thriving place. They only want to thrive. So our kids will never know what survival is. So for us to even talk to them about value of life, value of money itself it's a different conversation then.
Yeah.
Yes, you want to teach them the value of money, but from the mentality of not survival, but from the mentality of being able to thrive in life. How to value things, how to value relationships while having the mentality of thriving in life. How we should navigate through our own lives and continue the evolutionary process. Because when we continue on that evolutionary process, we are able to stay in step with our children, For me, I would consider my life being a successful one if my kids choose to be my friends after they become adults and they
I
choose to
agree.
spend
If they
time
choose to have a relationship with you when they no longer need you, I think that's
yeah,
successful parenting in a nutshell.
yeah.
Yes.
I would say for me, I would more than successful parenting, I would say I would consider that for me the standard of a successful life.
Yeah.
I would have said that, okay, I've fulfilled most of my, like all my objectives that I set out to,
Wow.
pursue.
It's so endearing to hear you talk about all of this, other than cricket. Now you have put your life, you basically put snippets of your life on social media, and I'm guessing that all the sort of the interaction that you get there is a lot of negative, you get trolls, you get sort of good comments, you get all sorts of things. So how do you handle trolls and how do you handle negative comments on social media?
Well, for starters, I don't take them seriously. As in, there was a point, I think I've developed a calloused skin after a point in time.
Okay.
And initially it used to affect me very deeply, but then you realize that, genuinely, if you have one-on-one conversations with these people, then there are deeper issues that are at play, and they're using this avenue or a platform to just vent a lot of the deeper issues through a medium of, say, sport, or through a medium of them not agreeing with an opinion or your thought process. And, I think over the last 20 years, we reached a place in society where we stopped agreeing to disagree with people. And I want to live in a world where me and my children and the people I love can exist in a world where we can agree to disagree with people, and still coexist. And I think that that starts from here, right? It starts with me. Now, I can have an opinion of mine, and people may disagree with me, and people may troll me, and people may mock me. And for me, that is absolutely fine. I'm completely fine with the fact that someone is disagreeing with me, and I can respect your opinion, right? I would also like to have a dialogue about it. I think having dialogues are important, right? And I want my kids to live in a world where they can perfectly kind of exist within what works for them, right? Because that whole saying and notion of one man's food is another man's poison, if you extrapolate that and apply it in different aspects of life, it works.
But somewhere I do feel that it's so easy for people to just sit behind a laptop or a phone or
Sure.
something and just type.
Sure.
And just type it and press send, and they believe that they've done something really great. So their way of, like you were saying, their way of communicating, maybe they're trying to say it's their way of venting it out.
Yeah,
and
it says a lot more about them than it says
about
about
them.
you.
Yes, then it does about you.
Like,
I agree.
because if you're going to go on a public platform and
Yeah.
abuse someone and threaten someone and threaten their family and abuse their family and say really low energy things, it says a lot about who they are and how they
Yes.
operate in life rather than who
Yeah.
you are, right?
Yeah.
We're all humans. None of us are perfect. We all make mistakes. We all are, on this whole journey of learning and evolving, whether we are aware of it or not, it happens to us.
Agreed.
Right? It's better for us to be aware of it and navigate through life where we get better with each day, or at least endeavor to get better with each day.
Yeah, I agree. Is that like part of a life coach learning that you have sort of learned these days? I believe you're a life coach, and what I want you to explain to me, what exactly is a life coach? What does it entail? And have you become someone who you needed?
Yeah, I have actually. I
Okay.
became a life coach truly from the perspective of being able to add value to people's lives.
Okay.
I would call myself an expert through experience.
Okay.
I think the things that I navigated through in my own life helped me become the man that I am today, and has helped me become the husband and the father that I am today, and has helped me become the friend and the brother and the confidant that I am today. And
Okay.
I was very clear that when I reach the back end of my career, the next thing that I do in my life has to be very aligned with my purpose, as was my passion. Cricket was my passion, and I pursued that as a passion in my life, and I made sure that it was very aligned with my purpose in life. And I recognized my purpose in life at a very young age, and I realized that my purpose in life was to add value to people around me. So whether it's in the field of cricket, whether it's in life as a friend or a family member, I'm going to try and add value as much as possible. And if you look at my career and the way it went from a deeper perspective, you will see that my career went the way it went because I operated being very true to my purpose in life. I knew that the next thing that I want to do in my life after cricket, because as an athlete, we have short careers. And so you're always thinking, okay, what am I going to do after I play cricket? And that was a very existential question after the age of 35 for me. And I knew that I was very clear that the next thing that I do in my life would be something that is directly aligned with my purpose in life. If it has my passion along with it, great.
Okay.
And then I realized that if I am going to pursue a career in my passion, that is cricket, whilst trying to add value and trying to do that for the next, say, 30, 40, 50 years, as long as I live, I'd probably be catering, like, say, for example, I could have become a batting coach, right?
Okay.
Someone who's an expert in batting and who can help cricketers with their batting aspect. And that's a very deep passion of mine. It's something that I'm also doing at this point. So if I did that, I'll be pigeonholing myself into catering to just a small group of people. And I felt that what I had to offer was a lot more than just cricket. I had a lot to offer beyond cricket. My wife has been a life coach and a NLP practitioner and a hypnotherapist for
Amazing. Okay.
over a decade right now.
Okay.
And we've often found ourselves, having these deeper conversations, and conversations generally in our family are not on the surface level. They run much deeper. And it felt like a very natural progression. And what is a life coach? A life coach is someone who helps you navigate through life, being aligned with your purpose and your objectives and your goals in life. There's a large variety of areas or subjects that life coaches can help you with. in general, it's relationship, your own life, having clarity with your own life, navigating through your relationships in your life. Those are the general aspects. But my specialization is peak performance mentorship. So it's for anyone who wants to achieve peak performance in any aspect of their life, whether it's sport, whether it's your entrepreneurship, whether it's you're a content creator, whether you're in the corporate workforce, senior level, mid level, entry level management, like corporate workforce. So I operate from that perspective and operate and specialize in peak performance and help people achieve their objectives and help people achieve their goals in their lives. And so that's my specialization. And we work perhaps, if you have to look at mental well-being or mental health from that perspective, I'll tell you where we fall in the pecking order. The top of the pyramid is perhaps a psychiatrist, a psychologist. Below that is a counselor. And below that are life coaches.
I was actually, my next question to you was going to be that. How is a life coach different from a psychologist? And you've just answered that.
Because our work, is, even though it's goal oriented, or objective oriented, a lot of the things that we navigate through are what is holding people back. Right?
Okay.
So when we navigate through life, there are a lot of layers that form. It could be childhood trauma, it could be relationship issues, it could be parental issues. There are a lot of layers that form.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of that layers that hold us back from, becoming the best version of ourselves, right?
Okay.
And unleashing the true, genuine inner child that exists within us.
Okay.
Now, it's how do we peel back the layers and remove the layers? And some layers work for you, right? So how do you peel back the layers, clean up what you don't want as an individual to exist in your life from that layer, put it back on you.
Yeah.
And allow you to exist from that space that helps you achieve the goals and objectives that you've set for yourself. It could be, your goals and objectives could be in the form of, from your professional life or in the form of your personal life.
You have been through like a really tough phase while you were playing when it comes to your mental health. I want you to tell me what exactly is clinical depression. How does one diagnose clinical depression? What sort of, do you have changes in your appetite, your mood? Do you have a nervous breakdown? Do you feel alone? What did you go through? How did this happen? Because you've been so open about it, and I want to hear your journey. Because you right now, this version of you sounds at least about 100% healed. You sound like a very healed person, and it's very endearing to see that. Like, I can, even though we are on screen, but I can just feel that vibe. So I want you to tell me how did it happen? What exactly went through your head?
Thank you. As in, thank you for recognizing that I've actually healed, because
because you do. You do.
I have. It's been a journey, and it's still an ongoing journey. And I wish I could tell you if there was one particular aspect that tipped me over on the other side. I think it is a series of things that happened simultaneously.
Okay.
And there were a lot of things that happened at home. There was a lot of things that happened in my professional life. There were a lot of things that happened in my relationships. There were some experiences that I had in my formative or younger years, my initial girlfriends that I had, the things that happened there that changed who I am, and with unknowingly made me a certain kind of personality, which tipped me in the direction of I had no choice but to, like, I was going in that road. I reached a fork in the road, like, because every time a particular experience happens to you, you are left in the fork in a road, right? There are 2 or 3 directions that you can go in. Ideally, you want to be in a place where you are able to choose which direction you're going in. You're actually actively choosing the direction you're going in, right? If you're unaware as a human being, you kind of go with what is predominantly the feeling that exists within you at that point in time. And so what tends to happen is, or what happened with me was, a series of things happened with me over a period of time, and I was blissfully unaware of my life, of just my whole being. I was a very unaware human being. And in that whole journey, I pegged myself in a direction that would lead me to be clinically depressed. If I have to define what clinical depression is, again, this is not the medical description of it. This is my experience of it. For me, it is a feeling of being completely isolated despite having lots of people in your life.
Okay.
Feeling like unrelatable and nobody will relate to you. It's a feeling of being completely debilitated of energy and strength and courage and anything that is a positive emotion that gets people going in their lives, having no motivation whatsoever, despite having everything in your life. For me, I think I reached the brink of I was obviously clinically depressed, but I was at the stage of being suicidal and exercising, like it got to a place where the most motivating thought in my head was to end it all,
Okay.
you know? Uh,
Okay.
like for you to consider suicide as an option, and to feel like, and at that stage to be able to go and exercise or to think of, okay, I want to exercise this option. First of all, to even consider exercising that option derives a lot of strength from your mind, right?
You've spoken about sitting, next to a windowsill. Where were you
Yeah.
in Dubai or something?
I was
Where
in South Africa.
South
I was playing
Africa? Okay,
playing
and
the
it was
2000.
some.
Yeah, I was playing the
Yeah.
2009 IPL,
Okay.
and a bunch of things happened preceding to that. And again, I was going through life in a very unaware fashion.
Okay.
And in that journey, what had happened is I'd just gotten moved from Mumbai Indians to RCB, and cricket was played in such a way at that point in time where transferring and moving loyalties was very foreign. Cricket at that stage as a sport itself was a very loyal sport. You played
Okay.
with a lot of pride for the teams that you played for. You knew
Okay.
nothing but being loyal to your team and doing everything for your team. And since I operated from the point of view of, or from the purpose of adding value to my teams that I existed in, it felt like I was cheating on Mumbai Indians even while I was transferred to, RCB.
RCB.
So the first
Okay.
year was a very, very challenging year for me. Emotionally, mentally, was a very challenging year for me. I felt so out of place. Like I felt foreign in my own body, you know? It felt like so uncomfortable in my own body. My own being felt so weird. Now
Okay.
imagine trying to play professional sport with that feeling, right? It's a very hard endeavor. Um, but I navigated through that and I found myself on the windowsill of the of my hotel that I was staying at, and for someone who had deep fear of heights at that point, I had massive fear of heights, and I was sitting there blissfully unaware that I'm feeling like this, and like I just got aware of a thought that went through my head because it suddenly felt like I had to take action, and then I realized, oh shit, this is the thought that I had, and the thought that I had was I could end it all. I could end all this pain by just jumping
Oh my
on the count of
God.
three.
Yeah.
And then I realized, oh, I'm gonna do something. And then suddenly it flashes through your head, and then you're like,
Yeah.
hey, you know what? What the heck? Then I jump back inside, and suddenly I look down from my windowsill, and I'm thinking, what am I doing? Like what's going on? I immediately shut the window. And I called my mom up, and even though things at home weren't the greatest, I called my mom up and I said, I need you guys to come here. You know, I need you guys to come here. I really need you guys. I'm not okay. And they came, and, I got them, I think in about a week's time, they flew out to South Africa and they spent a couple of weeks with me, 2 or 3 weeks with me. Gave me a semblance of understanding, okay, there's something wrong. That's when I truly understood there's something wrong. And my mom also saw that there was something wrong. And I had a aunt who made me experience, mother's love, and who was always there for me. And it was like I was blessed with another mother, you know.
Okay.
And she and my mom were also very, very close friends. And she kind of said that, I think Robin needs help. And at a stage in our country where, going to any mental health professional was deemed as, a stigma,
Yeah.
and, was deemed as something's wrong with this person and that they need professional help. They're actually, yaar, ye to pagal hai, was the narrative behind anyone seeking mental health
Yes.
intervention.
Yes.
So very quietly, they took me to a counselor, and I was very lucky that I found my counselor. And to this day, I'm so indebted to her. Who I am today is because of the journey she set me on. I might get emotional talking about this.
I think you already are. I can just see it. I can
But
see
she's
it.
played a big part in my life and a big part in setting me on the course that I'm on today. And
Do you want to take a minute?
no, I'm fine. I'm
You
okay.
sure?
Yeah. As in,
Okay.
I'm grateful for it, and these are very real things, right? That one
Yeah.
experiences, and it's something that I'm not ashamed of. I'm proud of, because and today the emotion that I feel for her wrote from the place of gratitude, because I know where I was and where I am today. So it roots from a place of gratitude, and I deeply love her as a human being and for the role she's played in my life.
What, Robin, when you're talking about when you were in South Africa, what I find very strange, and I think this has to do with men getting help.
Yeah.
They cannot talk to other men, but they can talk to a woman. Like in your case, you spoke to your mom, and then your mom put you on to your aunt, and then I think that's where your counselor also happens to be a woman. Even most of my male friends, they go through so much internally. It's just internalized. They don't know how to voice it, and for the fear of being either shot down or being told that just man up and just get on with it, or being told that yeah, ये सब ना लड़कों के साथ नहीं होता. I mean, stop doing
Be a
that.
man.
You agree? Yeah, be a man. And because you the sport that you have played and you're currently also part of, there's so much of machismo around surrounded with this. So how could you not talk to anybody in your own team at the time that you were in South Africa?
Yeah, pondered on this for like a really long time.
Yeah,
And
which I find it very strange because as a team, now I've seen my dad. I have been part of so many tours where there's such a cohesive unit and they party together and they eat together and they're in each other's rooms and they're laughing and there's so much of camaraderie because I have been. I mean, I have seen you part of so many IPL journeys, and so there is this cohesive unit. There's this team building, and everything is going on. But at the same time, why do we not talk about? Why do guys not talk about mental health?
again, I will take that back to where we are as a country, because I've actually thought about this very deeply. Right
Okay.
now, imagine you're on you're in pure survival mentality. Right.
Yeah.
When
Yeah.
you're surviving, right? Think about this as say as hunters and gatherers, right? If we evolved from say hunters and gatherers to where we are today in our lives, right? Now, as hunters and gatherers, when people went out to hunt, right? Are they thinking about their problems, or are they thinking about, I just need to do what I need to do to put food on the table for my family and to serve my family or to serve my my loved ones or whoever
Yes.
whoever you're serving at that point in time. Now, when you're operating from a survival mentality, it's very hard to navigate through existential stuff that come. You just take it in your stride and go, right? Now, if it's say just in our country, if it's say 250 years of just doing that, right? So survival mentality kicked in from the time that the Brits came in, right? Now, if it's 250, 300 years of just doing that. Now,
Yeah.
if we want to reverse that, how much time is it going to take? Probably will take the same amount of time, or if there's more exposure, at least half the amount of time, if not a little bit more. So you need to have patience with that. I also think that today I even talk about mental health for men and try and become a torch bearer for that, is simply because I want to break the stigma around men going through this whole thing. Right today, what is a masculine man? Masculinity has gone to two different extremes. Either you're pandering, you're considered truly masculine if you pander to the not the original version of feminism, but the the extreme of feminism that there is today, where we're better than men, or that exists, or you're being toxically masculine, right? We only exist in those two spectrums. There is a happy middle ground, right? And that happy middle ground is where the value of women and the respect and the love and the opportunities and all of that they deserve for who they are as human beings, not just as a woman, but as a human being. But you exist also from the state where you are able to hold your ground as a man, right? So true masculinity is having the fine balance of existing within your masculine and feminine energies, right? So there is a place in masculinity to be stoic, and that has to be the predominant space that you operate out of. In a man's world, nobody does any favors to us. We have to make it on our own. There is no empathy, there is no help, there is nothing. You make it on your own. It is like, I can tell you, the world is the toughest place for the man to exist out of. And from that place of existence, he has to provide for his family. Right? Because he's constantly, that means every day of his life, he's constantly firefighting, irrespective of whether he's operating in a cricket team, whether he's operating in a sports team, whether he's pursuing an individual sport, whether is in the corporate world, whether he's an entrepreneur, whether he's a government official. He is constantly firefighting. He's surviving. He's operating out of survival mentality there. Now, from that place to talk about his problems puts him in a place of weakness. Right? So men generally don't like to go to a place of weakness because they can't. Like, why are they operating from here? To serve his family or the people he loves, right? So for them, if he falls down to this space of energy operation where he's being where he feels weak, he can't do what he needs to do here, to exist in his own world and to serve his loved ones or his family. He can't do that.
Yeah.
So that's why men don't generally go to that space of vulnerability, and they describe or define vulnerability as a weakness. When in truth, it's actually not weakness.
It is not. Yeah.
When it's actually the biggest strength bearing, entity in your life. For men to exercise vulnerability in pockets of space and time, in vacuums of space and time, becomes critical for them to maximize their masculinity, to have an avenue to be able to express their vulnerabilities so that they can come back to being stoic and strong and exist in the real world, to be able to serve their families. Now, that is the kind of masculinity that today I'm trying to propagate. I'm trying to be a torchbearer of and help young men and kids and adults even kind of understand and operate from on some level.
I think as fathers, it is very important for fathers, I feel, to raise such conscious sons when they have sons.
Today we navigate through life, even with our son today, where and I made the mistake of saying, "Hey, why are you crying, man? You're a boy."
Yeah.
And then I'm like, and my wife's like reprimanded me for it. Said, "What do you mean?" And this was like 6 years ago or 5 years ago, right? You're a boy. You're not supposed to cry.
Yeah.
And then she brought it to my attention, and I was like, yeah, that's so true. Despite having all the experiences I've had, when I've had a child, or as a father, I've had to navigate through a place where I've had to learn and evolve to a place where I'm like, no, man, today I have to operate differently as a father. I have to give room for my son to, otherwise I'm repeating the same cycle that I've gone through or I've grown up with, right? You have to break that cycle, and we have to play active parts in breaking that cycle. Today, we operate from a place where we allow our son to cry. We allow him to feel all of the emotions that he's feeling and say, you know what? Have a cry. It's fine. It's absolutely okay to cry. Cry. And I deal with him as a man. So I'm like, yeah, absolutely. Cry, buddy. No worries. I'm right here. Whenever you're ready to talk about it, let's talk about it. Let's process the emotions that you're feeling. Let's not leave it unprocessed. Let's not do that. Let's make sure that whatever you're feeling, you feel it fully, and then we process it and give it the right meaning. Giving it the right meaning also becomes very important for all of our experiences. You got to give the right meaning very honestly, and the meaning that serves you, that evolves you and not devolves you, that leaves you in a place of strength. I hope it's I hope I'm not confusing with everything I have to say. But that everything that you address has to be from the point of view of evolving you to be becoming a better version of you.
I'm resonating with whatever you're saying at the moment, because when you were speaking about your the mental health issues that you had, and then you sort of sought help. When my dad was in the hospital and I couldn't, because I was his favorite child, and I couldn't bear the thought of seeing him in that state every time I went to visit him, and I would break down. And I sought help, and I took weekly sessions with this therapist online. And I wanted to sort out what was going on in my head, because I couldn't process and I couldn't fathom how. So she called it. She said that that pillar that has been supporting you all your life, you see it on a shaky ground, and that's what's very, very disturbing. So I went through a really tough phase when he was in hospital, and then eventually he passed away. But I think the importance of seeking help it's just so important, and it should be done. Everybody who needs it, because there's sometimes, and I have a lovely supportive family, but I just felt that even they couldn't understand what I was going through. They couldn't fathom what I was going through.
Yeah, absolutely. And that happens, right? And I'm grateful that thank you so much for sharing that.
I want you to tell me how, if somebody else is also going through mental health issues and, is suffering that nervous breakdown or whatever, what would be your advice to them?
My advice to them would be to actually first kind of acknowledge. I think the first step to addressing anything related to mental health is to have awareness of it and to acknowledge that, okay, something is off.
Yeah.
I think that is the most important piece of the puzzle. That's when the first piece of the puzzle is put, right? And then from that central piece, you move on to the other pieces slowly. But I think if you can acknowledge that, okay, something is wrong and I need to address it and not sit on that information, I think that is the most important part of it. And how you feel as a human being when you're feeling like really, really good, or when you feel absolute crap, right? Now, if you're feeling absolute crap consistently for a long period of time, then there's something unaddressed. And to acknowledge, okay, that there's something unaddressed and I need to address it, whether it's you speaking to someone you love and trust, or whether it's you seeking professional help, anyone works. At different times, I think it's different things. For some people, they feel like, okay, if I share this with a family member, they won't understand and they'll see it from these rose-tinted glasses that they're seeing, viewing everything, and they probably won't understand exactly where I'm coming from. If you feel like that, go to a mental health professional. We get a very neutral perspective and find a good mental health professional, whether it's a life coach, whether it's a therapist, whether it's a counselor, whether it's a psychologist or a psychiatrist. Find a good one.
How do you handle, like, when you have negative thoughts? I believe I was reading somewhere, and I think it was a video that I was watching. You said that you journal a lot and you write down a lot of stuff, whatever bothers you. Is that as well as, I mean, journaling about depression or journaling about negative thoughts, does that help you in any way?
It does. And I think some form of journaling, whether it's audio journaling or video journaling or writing it down, actually physically journaling stuff down, whatever works for you, right? I think find a medium that works for you, that resonates the most with you, and actually do it. There are times that right now I don't physically journal. I audio or video journal a lot of my stuff. And I feel that as I'm talking about it and I'm being utterly honest with myself, I'm able to call myself on things that I'm not doing. I'm able to take responsibility for the things that I'm not doing. And I also operate from a place where I take full responsibility for everything that happens in my life. I don't try to pin responsibility on anybody else. I take full responsibility for everything that happens in my life. I feel like the buck stops with me, right? It stops at me. So I think even if something has happened that somebody else has done, I try and trace it back to why that happened. And for me, audio journaling, video journaling actually helps me understand that. And if I still don't understand it, then I reach out to my trusted people, whether it's my counselor, whether it's my wife, whether it's a really dear friend. I kind of have these conversations and then get to that place. This is not a destination.
Yeah.
This is a journey, right? And if you think this is a destination, you've got this whole game wrong.
Do you meditate? Like, do you use any sort of apps for meditation?
I do.
I use the Calm app for meditation. I use it quite a bit, in fact, almost every day. But do you do the same in any which way?
I use this thing called Insight Timer.
Okay.
I like that. I'm in the process of also creating my own conscious breathing app.
How amazing.
I'm working on it. I'm working on multiple different things right now. So plenty things, yeah.
So as a professional cricketer, when you represented India at the highest level, how did you deal with losses, specifically that World Cup loss as well, and all the other generally?
Well.
How did you deal with? Sorry?
Not well at all.
Tell me, how did you deal with it?
There was a big part of it is still, I would say, that 2007 loss. A big part of it is also is still unprocessed because I can't remember much. I think I'll have to probably go through, hypnotherapy to kind of address it and figure out a lot of that stuff.
Okay.
I've used hypnotherapy as a tool to address a lot of other things that have happened in my life that needed attention. And since this is more cricket oriented, I think this aspect I've actually dealt with more subconsciously and maybe more than consciously. And because I put myself through a lot of difficult situations consciously, I put myself into a lot of growth phases consciously. I pushed myself out of my comfort zone to a place where I, I constantly am trying to evolve and better myself as an athlete. So I've done that multiple times. And in that process, I've learned and grown a lot, which has helped me navigate through life in a way where I've addressed a lot of my existential cricketing stuff, right? And today I deal with losses in a much more healthy manner. It doesn't have massive implications on me. I learn a lot. I get into a massive learning state. I'm like, okay, what can I learn from this experience that I've caused for myself along with my teammates? What can I learn from this experience that can serve me moving forward? So I get into a growth mentality when I experience losses and try and absorb as much as I can. And I try and get into a excited, positive state while operating from that place. And today when I'm pushed out of my comfort zone, whether in cricket or in life, I consciously try and operate from a state of excitement, from a state of joy, and from that growth mentality space, so that I learn and absorb as much as I can. Because if I can't learn as much as I can, what I've noticed in my own life is that cycle kind of repeats. That pattern repeats itself, whether it's in my personal life, my professional life, it repeats itself. And that cycle repeating itself for me feels like stagnation. And I don't like to stagnate. I like to keep moving and keep evolving. And so because I operate from that place, I make sure that cycle happens only once. I try and minimize the churning of that cycle.
That is actually called just being self-aware. And I don't know many people who are like that, because I sit and question myself also about all of these things. That level, once you reach that self-awareness level, it comes with, it just comes with so much sort of like a backlog of experience that life teaches you. Nothing else.
Of course. 100%.
Yeah, it does.
And I think it'll only serve you if you are self-aware of your own life.
Yes.
Whilst being honest with yourself.
I agree.
Because we create our own truths along the way.
Yeah,
but,
I agree.
To be explicitly honest with ourselves and call ourselves out on our bullshit stories that we make about ourselves is also very critical in the process.
Yeah, and it's all in your head, like and then you start believing those bullshit stories as well. After the point,
your reality.
Yes, it becomes your reality. Now tell me something. You played under some really great captains. Okay, what have you learned from them on leadership? What have you learned from them on getting the best out of an individual, on mental toughness, and who's been a huge inspiration for you?
Man, how much time do you have, Neha?
I have a lot of time.
Let me
I'm enjoying this conversation with you so much that I actually feel like I'm having a life coach session probably with you. Yeah.
Thank you. The leaders I've played under have had absolute clarity as to what the outcome they were pursuing were. And they were able to build a side in that with that objective in mind, that this is our objective, or this is the pursuit that I'm after as a leader of this group, and this is how these are the personnel I need to be able to achieve this objective. And based on these personnel, I want to be able to clarify to them what their roles are and provide the security they need, so that they can operate from a place of a thriving mentality to be able to achieve the objectives that achieves the larger objective for myself and for the role that I've been presented with.
So who's been the most inspiring captain out of
I would have to say, for me, the most inspiring captains that I've played under and observed in that particular order would be Anil Kumble, MS Dhoni, Gautam Gambhir, and ones I haven't played with but still have been truly inspirational for me have been Rohit Sharma. I would have to say Faf du Plessis. These guys have been really, really good to observe from the outside. Rohit and Faf have been truly phenomenal to observe from the outside.
Post-retirement, since cricketers have a very short...
I would have to cut you off there, Neha. I haven't retired. I've resigned from Indian cricket so that I can play cricket outside of India.
I am going to say this again.
No, you can leave this on, because a lot of people actually say that I've retired, and I've had to say I've retired, because if I have to make myself available to play cricket outside of India, I have to retire from all forms of Indian cricket.
Yeah.
But genuinely, from my perspective, I have not retired. I have resigned from all forms of Indian cricket so as to give myself the ability or the chance to play cricket outside of India.
Okay. So how hard, let's say, okay, fine, you've not retired, while other cricketers have retired. How hard is it post-retirement for them now?
It's quite hard, to be very honest.
Hmm.
Again, you're asking all the right questions, I must say. It's very, very hard because as athletes, as cricketers, let me speak for cricketers, right? Because I'm a cricketer. As cricketers, we have very short careers, right? An average Indian career in the IPL is between 5 to 7 years in the IPL, right?
Okay.
5 to 8 years. And your maximum earning potential in that is about 3 to 4 years, right? And you have to understand, and I'm sure you know this, that to pursue a career in cricket in India, it is a single-minded pursuit. You can't pursue anything else. You can't pursue education. You have to give up education because that takes time and energy. And if you want to make it big or give yourself a chance to make it big in India and Indian cricket, then you can't split your energies between cricket and education. And it's a very hard split to make. It's not impossible, but it's a very hard split, and people don't necessarily have the capacities to do both, which is why 98% of our cricketers in our country are, don't finish school, or some end up not finishing college. Very few of us end up graduating out of college, right? Now, when human beings such as these, who have an average of 10, like a 10-year career, let's say, when they finish playing cricket, if they don't have the ability or the wherewithal to coach, to communicate, or to do something that's alternative from sport, and if you don't develop that skill along the way, then the drop is a big drop. And the
Okay.
drop in earnings is massive. The
Yeah.
drop from significance is massive, and the drop from relevance is massive. So when then these three drops happen simultaneously, it is a massive precursor for mental health related issues,
Mhm.
right? Because imagine you lose your sense of significance at the age of 30, 35,
Yeah.
right? Imagine you lose a sense of relevance at that age. You're really
True.
young in the world, but you're old in your sport. So you feel old because that's what you know from a young age. That's who you are. Your whole existence is
Yeah.
so at 35, you feel really old, insignificant, and irrelevant. While in the real world, you're a really young person who's probably just had a family, just gotten married, and you have children. Suddenly, you find yourself in such a place that it's a really dark place, which is why a lot of Indian cricketers who navigate through the back end of their careers have a lot of mental health related issues.
Do you think that the same is true for people who have just, like, you're not part of the IPL? You've just seen, you were in Bangalore for the auction. There are these really young, unassuming guys who are getting shit tons of money. Okay, post that, all of a sudden they go up, and then they just come crashing down. Do you think the same is true for them as well?
No, it's slightly different for them.
Okay.
It's a different, it's a different precursor for mental health related issues.
Okay.
But not, I won't say slightly. It's a completely different precursor, to be very honest.
Okay.
That's an educational piece, right? That's about how do you teach people how to deal with money, and you can't correlate money to success. I think they're two very, even though they're related, they're diametrically related. They're not like linearly related.
Yeah.
In my opinion, So it's about educating people how to deal with money, and it's not taught to us in school, right? And like, man, this is such a deep topic. There's so like
If I'll just make it simple for you. If
Yeah.
you were to give advice to a young cricketer, because you have seen all that glitz and all that glamour of the IPL, you've been part of it for so many seasons, what would you tell them for somebody who's just starting out?
I would tell them that, and please put subtitles in as many languages as possible for this, but I would tell them that seek professional help, educate yourself with finances. That
Yeah.
financial literacy is key to be able to empower yourself to make the right decision with the volume of money that you've just received. Remember your roots, right? Remember where you came from and what you have today,
Okay.
and protect the downside. Just protect the downside. And for that, educate yourself. The way of protecting your downside is to financially, have educate yourself. Have that literacy. And everything you're asking me is all about all the things that I'm actually doing right now, Neha. I'm setting up my own.
You feel like this should be a paid session?
No,
Because
no.
I am loving this chat because it's just flowing so seamlessly that
Yeah.
you're talking about
No,
time and I absolutely have,
no,
I'm not even looking at the clock.
this is what I'm setting, I've just set up my company right now. And
Yeah.
everything you've asked me is everything that I'm actually doing in my company right now.
Okay.
So we have a vertical for, peak performance.
Okay.
We call it, it's that vertical is called something. I'll reveal it. It'll come up in the next month or so. It should come up.
Okay, now I want to know, what do you do for real dopamine? Like, are you into working out? Are you into
Yeah.
because is this like the fittest version of yourself that you have become post cricket?
Yeah, it has been. It has
Okay.
been. It has been the fittest version of myself. It's
So what exactly do you do for real dopamine? How has exercise helped you in your mental health?
mentally and emotionally. I would say that one of the things I first did was give up on this pursuit of trying to be fit. I gave up on the pursuit, like, you know what? Just let it go, man. If you have to be fat, be fat. But if you have to be fit, be fit. Stop, like, just pursue being healthy, Robin, was the first thing I said to myself. Okay. And I said, okay, let me try and be healthy. I'll tell you the things I did. It wasn't rocket science, right? And I've worked with every big nutritionist you can think of in India. I've worked with all of them. And
Okay.
I would even go to say that I was probably one of the first guys in our sport to hire a professional nutritionist to work with, to pay attention to nutrition from a sport perspective, right? I was one of the first few, I would say, if not the first.
Yeah.
And for me, what I did was, and I've been through it all. So I've tried every diet there is to try. I've tried every version of, what a nutritionist would try. And today I've reached about, okay, what can I do today as a human being that exists in a family with a wife and with 2 children and still plays sport around the world and still does broadcasting and does other things? What can I do, consistently do, that can help me be healthy, right? So today I eat as much as my hand, right? I eat this much rice, I eat this much proteins of any form, and I eat this much vegetables.
Okay.
That is, like, this is how much I eat. So this much veggies, this much protein, this much rice, twice a day. I
Okay.
eat like my ancestors do. I eat like my forefathers do. Like my forefathers were coffee farmers, and how they would till the land would be, they would go to the farm at 5 o'clock in the morning. They'd break their fast during the week. They'd break their fast at 11:30, 12 in the afternoon. After tilling land, they would rest for a few hours, and then they'd till the land again till 6 o'clock or 5 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 5:30 in the evening. Have their second meal when they're back home by 7 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock. And then they would go to sleep by 8, 9 o'clock and then repeat, right? Wake up at 4 o'clock, go back to the land and till the land at 5 in the morning. And then that's how their day went. So through the week, that's how they lived. And on this Sunday, they ate 3 meals. So I'm constantly trying to eat like my grandfather ate, or my great grandfather ate, or my great grandfather ate. So I'm trying to do everything from the Indian mentality and where I came from perspective.
Okay.
And I do that. So I eat 2 meals a day. I gave up breakfast about 2 years ago.
Okay.
The whole concept of breakfast, it's not a hard rule.
Yeah.
Right? It's a soft rule. For the most part, I don't eat breakfast. Like,
Okay.
I've woken up today at 8, 9 o'clock in the morning. I haven't had a meal. It's 2 o'clock in the afternoon here. I'll finish this podcast and I'll go and have a meal.
Okay.
Right? That'll be my first meal of the day. That's how I break my fast.
Okay.
And then my second meal of the day will be at 8 o'clock in the evening. And then I eat twice. That's it. Simple. I train 4 times a week.
What do you do for training? I mean, are you into weight training? Okay. Are you into like a mix of everything, or is it?
No, I do 4 strength training sessions a week. And then I play paddle tennis, which is my preferred way of doing cardio. And I love the sport. I think I love it as much. I know I love it as much as I love cricket, but maybe I love it a little bit more.
Okay.
You know how you reach the back end of your career and you want to play other sports.
Which is what I wanted to ask you. You know, all the cricketers who I know, like UV, and I was doing a podcast with Kapil uncle as well. They're gravitating naturally towards golf, and here you are you have gone on a different sphere completely. So how
I
did
like
you? Yeah.
because I'm still playing cricket, right? Because I'm still playing and I want to play well into my 40s. That's the desire, at least, and that's the endeavor. And because I'm endeavoring to play well into my 40s, I want to play a sport that keeps me active, keeps my mind active, keeps my reflexes active, keeps me moving. Right?
Okay.
I'm constantly moving. So today, as a wicketkeeper batsman, paddle is the best sport for me to play because in paddle you're moving laterally, like you're not moving in a linear fashion. You're moving more laterally, right?
Okay.
You're moving more side on, like this, from side to side. A lot like tennis, right? And like you serve and volley, or you get to the court, or the net, right? And that works on my reflexes great. As a wicketkeeper, you need great reflexes. As a batter, you need great reflexes. It serves my skills there.
Yeah.
And then moving laterally serves my skill in moving side on. Cricket is a side on sport. So you play as a batter, you move more side on. So for me, it just it's like a hand in glove fix for my cardio and my movements and my reflexes as a cricketer. So 4 times a week of strength training, 3, 4, 5 times a week of paddle tennis just takes care of my fitness. And every paddle session, I play for an hour and a half minimum, and I lose about 1,000 calories, 1,200 calories in that. So there's a lot of burn that happens whilst keeping my reflexes in check. So it keeps me
It's
healthy.
amazing. I think it has helped you, right? Because I say this to a lot of people, and who are close relative has been going through a lot of mental health issues, and I have advised her that she should start exercising because that dopamine that comes into your brain.
It depends also, Neha, on at what level of mental health, issues she's navigating through.
Probably.
Sometimes, I can tell you at the peak of my depression, I didn't do any training. My body was like stone. Like literally the only motivation I had to get up or do something in my life was to end my life at that point in time.
Yeah.
So it depends on what level of depression they're navigating through, or, what they're going through. Yes, it's ideal for them to do that. Something as simple as going and catching fresh air, going for a walk. And even then, even if they feel like they want to just think about what they're going through, just go out and think in fresh air. Just walk and think. That could be the starting point. Just get them to begin somewhere. Something as simple as a walk would do.
Yeah.
Just something as simple as stepping out, sitting in the balcony and just thinking about life is better than just sitting in the room and moping about your life.
I am going to say a final sort of I like an ending, although I don't want this conversation to end. But I absolutely love how you, via your posts, are changing the narrative on mental health. It is so amazing to see that. On suicide issues, you've spoken about suicide as well. And, these are issues that are not spoken about. On people checking in, you should be checking in with everybody. Like if somebody's not, you haven't spoken to somebody for a long time, you just go, pick up the phone and just ask, hey buddy, what's up? I haven't heard from you in a while. So it's very important to check in on people and to make sure that they're okay. And how you're getting more men to be open about talking on mental health.
It's a tough endeavor, that one.
Yes.
The men's mental health endeavor is a tough one, but it's one that I'm committed to. I want to be able to add value to that extent where men feel like it's normal to create those spaces in time, because we don't live in a surviving world. And it depends. It's your choice if you want to live from a survival mentality or you want to live from a thriving mentality, and what you do to be able to get there, right? But if you operate from a place where you want to thrive in life, then talking about things that bother you and pull you down and don't allow you to operate from the highest version of yourself, you need to create spaces of time, spaces of vacuum and time to be able to address those stuff, to get into it, and I would encourage all men to kind of get into it and address the things that hold them back from becoming the highest version of themselves.
Thank you so much, Robin. How do you make those heart emojis? Like here, this is a heart emoji for you. I love this conversation, and I have never done it. This is probably my 10th or 11th episode, and I have not done these heart emojis with anybody. It's just with you.
Thank you so much, Neha.
Thank you so much, Robin. I have had such an amazing time chatting with you. Thank you.
My pleasure.
And I'm wishing you luck, and I'm wishing you success in every sort of endeavor, especially that the one that you're talking about that's going to take off soon.
Thank you.
Wishing you all the best for that. Actually, I wanted to have a chat with you and your wife together.
Yeah,
because,
sure, we can do that as well.
Yes,
no,
because she seems, her energy with you is also so amazing when both of you are just, so comfortable with each other, talking and sharing.
Yeah. Very real. With
Very
each other.
real, very real. I think that's what I am trying to put out via this podcast, that it's very real.
Yeah, and
Thank you so much, Robin.
If the intent is to put out stuff that adds value to people,
Yeah,
it
is.
Kudos to you. I think it's an amazing thing that you do.
Thank you so much, Robin. Thanks once again.
Sure, my pleasure.
Thank you. Robin's story serves as a reminder that those who appear to be strong and very resilient on the surface can face immense mental challenges. If you like this content, follow us on Instagram and on YouTube. Have a conversation with me on Instagram and tell me what you think. Thanks very much.